Welcome, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Artist and writer Howie Noel is with us. Coming up next. Welcome back, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, is my co-hostess, Vanessa Hogel. And down in the chat room, our chat moderator, Quarantine Ghost, shaking everything up down there. We have a fantastic show coming up for you tonight. Artist and writer Howie Noel is with us. Many of you probably recognize him from the Paranormal web series, done a number of other things as well. He's contributed to the top Paranormal magazine, WWE Raw, so many other projects that he has been involved with that we'll get into and talk about. Howie, thank you for coming on the show. Great to have you.
Oh, thank you both for having me. It's great to be here.
Yay!
Yeah, absolutely. So, Paranormal, I've been running over 10 years now. That's really how I found you, years ago. And I know we've chatted a little bit here off and on over that time. So really, we were talking about a bit before the show, kind of, your inspiration starting as a younger guy. Of course, there's, always that kind of that legal stuff that kind of came up here recently. Is I got to get Howie on the show finally.
Controversy creates cash.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I see that, and being a writer, I always understand that pain of somebody trying to, piggyback on your work or take, the name of something that you've done. But, you've been at this, Tara, for over 10 years. You've been drawing, pretty much your entire life. But so tell us about Paranormal.
Sure. Paranormal is a supernatural superhero. And what I try to do is take real life paranormal, technology, equipment, stories, real life things, and then combine it with a comic book world so that the real life stuff then gets used, in the comic, and nobody does that. So whenever you have a paranormal comic, usually it's very, lots of demons and stuff. It basically does Ghostbusters. So what I try to do is, what if there was a real life paranormal investigator, but she just had these superpowers that she uses specifically to show ghosts are real, and her main goal is to prove they're real, prove they exist, get the world to awaken, and what are the consequences of that? And that's what we're finding out in the next chapters of the book.
Very cool. That is a completely original concept. I've never seen anything like it.
Oh, thank you. That's what I was going for. Yeah, it's when I first started, there were not like ghost books. There was always ghost stories, of course, but like in comics, specifically a paranormal investigator, there are, of course, lots of supernatural detectives. Doctor Strange is great, things like that. Hellboy, of course, is a big influence. And then monster hunters, so like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and of course Scooby-Doo. That's a great, paranormal investigator of comics that I love. So I wanted to take all that and also take the real world stuff, which I enjoy, like all the paranormal investigators I get influence me and inspire me. And then I love going. That's why I love going to the conventions. I love meeting people and meeting new readers, but also getting to hear everybody's stories and looking at the photos, what you guys do in real life is such a big inspiration to me. And I just hope that I can give the best tribute of it in a fantastical sense.
Now, what Paranormal needs.
Uh-oh.
She needs a red-headed psychic sidekick. Okay?
Okay.
So, preferably younger looking, a little bit thinner, and I wouldn't mind being a little bit taller.
There's a list of demands, I see.
This is
what people ask to be drawn. There's always a list.
Just make it better than I am. Okay? Just try. That would be wonderful.
As a caricaturist, I'm used to these rules being laid down. People usually say the same thing. So yeah, it's okay. I'm part therapist, part artist.
If you want to make her old and short and chubby, you go right ahead. I just don't think it'll sell. Okay, I'm just saying. Real quick, I do have a quick question for you. I must apologize first because I have not read it. So I do, but I am going to as soon as we're done here. Is it just paranormal, or have you delved into the cryptids or ufology or anything like that with her?
Oh yeah. Everything is in the book, especially the new book, which I happen to have a copy right here. It's the Paranormal Complete webcomic series. This is actually on Amazon right now.
Very cool.
Was successful. This is our recent successful Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaign. There's zombie dogs, and there's a baby Cthulhu. There's aliens. There's all kinds of things. There's a goat man, major goat man, which is Maryland's version of Bigfoot. And the goat man is a big part of the series. And we actually went looking for the goat man, and I've got several firsthand accounts that helped shape the story. So she delves into everything with the paranormal. So it's not just ghosts, but there's ghosts, demons, creatures. She fights the New Jersey Devil in a new story that I put up on my website. That's an exclusive right now. You can go read it. So she fights the New Jersey Devil, and basically anything and all will get covered. So if it's paranormal, the entire scope. So cryptozoology, and also aliens. I love aliens, and of course they're on the aliens are on the cover of the new book. And Tara has alien origins, let's say, because that's cat's out of the bag anyway. So she has that connection. So it's the entire world of the paranormal we're interested in, not just ghosts, even though it's a big part.
Very cool. Very cool. That just tickles me. I'm just so excited.
I know Vanessa's really happy anytime Vanessa's always really happy whenever we bring a artist on the show. So And Howie mentioned the site there, so definitely check that out after the show, hcnoel.com. I did put the link down in the description, and Quarantine Ghost is also putting the link there in the chat. And we are getting some questions in, and something I was going to ask you, and Judy Wilson kind of asked the same thing here. What brought you into writing about the paranormal? Did you have something happen to you? So, what's kind of the genesis of your interest in the paranormal?
Yeah, I've always... even since I was very, very young, I was always into, ghost stories and horror. I always loved horror. I find it as an escape. So I grew up with the 80s movies. So something like Lost Boys is huge to me, and Ghostbusters and Ghoulies, specifically Ghoulies 2 is one of my favorite movies. And I believe my house growing up had something going on with it as far as ghosts, because there was it's a very old house. It was creepy. We had that creepy basement like in It, where he would hide, that kind of broken, not a cool basement like I have now in my house where you can actually go down there and hang out. This thing was like straight out of It, where you get down the steps and it's that cold, muddy floor cellar thing. And I had experiences growing up, specifically haunted. Like one time I was with my ex-girlfriend, and they were house sitting for a male witch. And that's how good stories start. Right. And he had a spider, of course. He had a pet spider he had to go feed. And he said something was in his apartment. I'm like, oh, whatever, because you got to act tough. You got to act like, oh, I'm tough for, I wanted to act tough for my girlfriend. And they were like, we can't get this one door to open. And I was like, oh, let me do it. And I went to go open it, and it was pulling back. So not a normal lock. When something's pulling back. And I was like, we should probably just go. I was like, we should probably go. And as I backed away from it, it opened and breathed, with a, and I'm like, let's leave. We turn out the lights. They turn back on when we're out, So what we did was we all got together and threw a big party there to mess with it a week later. Nice. Nothing. So that's what you get. That's what
happens. So if any of your
but now looking back,
so
that's the things shaped me growing up.
Sure, absolutely. Have any of those experiences made it into your writing?
Not that spider, but the feeling of there's a room you don't want to go in and stuff like that, and having that fear. I wanted to create a character that doesn't have that fear. Like Tara isn't afraid of stuff like that.
She's a pretty tough cookie. Yeah.
I am afraid of stuff like that, and that's why I enjoy paranormal so much. But I always admire people that will just go in these, dark rooms. So I wanted to create a character that's the opposite, that has zero fear with that, and that can be her downfall, because with the zero fear, then you don't fear the consequences, and sometimes you try to do everything on your own.
Right.
True story.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's backfired in many ways.
Yes, Tara gets it backfiring, and that's a quality trait, because I think the best characters have those flaws. So while she's super strong and she's got all this winning thing, wanting to do everything on her own is a big flaw, because you don't realize your friends want to help you and they care about you, and that's what she learns over all these books.
That's amazing. That's a good message. And I mean, if you're somebody like myself, or some people that I know, it's not real pretty learning that lesson.
No, it's not when she learns.
Yeah, and getting that message. But at least you can control it. We're just, we're trying to figure it out without any of that. Maybe if I would have been reading your comic, I would have, maybe got a little wiser, a little quicker.
There you go. Well, there's still time to read it, so you'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah. I can always use a little wise.
Yeah. Try to have a moral on every end of the story,
Good.
A good learning, like He-Man did. He-Man always had a lesson at the end of every episode.
True story.
Right. G.I. Joe did the same thing. They would have those snippets, and now you know, and knowing's half the battle. So.
Yeah. I love the overdubs. Have you ever seen those, Mike, where they take those clips at the end, but they do like weird jokes with them?
Right. Yeah.
Pork chop sandwiches. One.
They're pretty funny.
Oh my God, yeah.
So, so you do have some samples of the webcomics on your website. We were talking a bit before the show about it, and it's something that I guess has happened to you, off and on over the years, is that somebody tries to jump on the paranormal bandwagon, and this is something you've repeatedly have to deal with. So I was hoping you could talk a little bit about that, because there are other artists and writers out there that will have to face this sort of thing. Vanessa's had to face it. I've had to face it a little bit. So for others out there, what did you just recently go through here with this name infringement?
Yeah, it's an unfortunate sign. It's an unfortunate side of things that happen when you go to create something original, and it's one of the main things I hear when I do conventions and appearances, or I get emails from creators just starting out. They say when they say they haven't shared anything yet, they're afraid of somebody stealing it.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's like the number one fear.
Yes.
And even more so than people not liking it, they're afraid somebody will take it. And you just, nowadays, with how online is, you have to find it in yourself to be brave enough and put it out there, because somebody will take it. Somebody will attempt to take it. There's going to be knockoffs, and what they say about ideas is like, there's only so many ideas out there, which I don't believe. I really don't believe. I believe there's lots of great ideas. There's twists on things. There's an archetype like the hero's journey, of course. But I mean, the fact that when they say, "Oh, there's only so many ideas," that doesn't mean just use a title that is trademarked, which seems to be what some people, sadly make the mistake of doing. I think it's just, you have to, if somebody does that to you, and it's happened to a lot of my artist friends have had this happen. Their art gets used either like that, ripped off the character. I've seen it happen. So it's not just me. So you're not alone when it happens. The thing is, you can't let it make you quit. And you have to dig down deep and go, how much do you love this? Because I guarantee I love this more than they do. And I will outlast. And my character is better because I'm involved in it. And that's the thing. You can tell when there's a knockoff, and you can tell when the real deal is there. And that's why we always call Tara the real deal. She's the real Paranormal. And my fans and my friends and supporters, they call themselves Team Tara, because they really do. And when something like this happens, they get behind me and fight with me and fight for her. And I have fans that I've had cosplay for years. I had which is an honor. There's tattoos. People get the tattoos of Tara and her name, and and the Frankie Kitty, and that is so inspiring to me, and I get numerous emails and messages and about how much she means to them. And even when somebody finds her new and it means the world to them, I can't quit on that. I can't quit, because it's easy to quit. It's very it's seductive to want to quit, because it's so easy. Quitting's easy. Believing in something and fighting for it and not giving up is hard. And I'm very stubborn, so I don't give up on this character. I mean, as a writer, you go through a lot of rejection. And I've never thought of the things. It takes me over 10 years. I do these books, and to each character. My first comic was Mr. Scoodles, and that was like a 10-year journey right out of college. And then I did Tara, and I do things in between all of them. But Tara's going to continue. We just did our first decade, and it's not just a pitch to me. And that's what I realize separates me from some comics, is that millions of pitches, and you're looking for that one that'll click, and I was just like, oh no, this is like my baby. So when I send you the pitch and you don't believe it, I didn't understand it because I was like younger, and I'm like, don't you understand? This is, well, we're doing this, so I want you along with it. And that's not how publishing, the business works. Like, they're used to pitches. So when I find something like this, I really commit to it. And I just have to say to other artists is, don't give up. If this happens to you, you're not alone. Feel free to write me and stuff, and just really learn a lot about copywriting. Copyright everything. Copyright that's very important. Some people don't copyright things, which is crazy.
Right,
you copyright your book when it's done, copyright your art when it's done. And also, I also, am learning every day about it and what it means and stuff. And you have to choose your battles wisely, and just remember that, because it's another side to it. It's a business side.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I want to address something real quick that he mentioned about the fear of posting the pictures and everything else. And legally, this might not be a big thing, but to a certain extent, posting pictures of your work is like a poor man's copyright. It's time stamped.
Once you create something, you have a poor man's.
You always have proof of when you did it. Yeah. And that is one thing that, I mean, there in the very, very, very beginning, I was absolutely terrified of posting my work, because I was like, damn, what if, just like you said, what if somebody takes this? But now I'm like, oh, I dare you. I'm putting it out there, and it's on my Facebook, it's on my Instagram, it's on my Twitter, time stamped. I can prove it's mine. And I know somebody who steals it can't. So for anyone who's watching this and they're doing art, remember that. I mean, not only should you be pleased and proud of what you've done, but that's your poor man's copyright. That's just something to remember.
And you want to tell your story. So if you believe in the story, tell it. Because what is somebody going to find in your house in 70 years and then put it out? I mean, it's just part of it. If you have a story to tell, you should share that story, And I mean, you can't let, like, no matter, it hurts every time it'll happen. Trust me on that. But what also helps, that I know that I'm inspiring people with this, and that people they have a tough time in their life. They think of her and they keep fighting, and my, one of my recent book, Float, my anxiety memoir, that truly helped people. Like, it saved some lives, because they went to doctors and realized, oh, I have anxiety. So that's a huge thing. When your art can affect somebody like that, and I try to always entertain, it means the world to me. And that's the most important thing.
True.
Yeah. I have a couple of the images here that I've been putting up throughout the show. So I did include some with Float.
There it is.
Yeah. Can you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about Float? Because this was pretty personal to you.
Yeah, that's one where I just went out and maybe overshared, but that was the whole point of the project. Float, I'm very proud of. I always wanted to do, since I started making books, I always wanted to do something personal like that, like my version of like Pink Floyd's The Wall or something, where it talks about mental health. And I think I have a generalized anxiety disorder, so since I was very little, I had it. And when I found out what it was that was causing, the panic attacks and anxiety attacks I had, and why I thought the way I did. Why would I take things, like we're talking about, take things so personally, like I'd go crazy thinking about things. And when I learned, what it was, I was like, oh my God, thank you. I have an answer. Cause I just thought, oh, this is normal, and I thought behaving that way is normal. And you're actually, you're hurting yourself with thinking like that. And, I wanted to express it because I know there's millions and millions of people that have it. And it's one of those, we're in the conversation of mental health. I think it's one of those things that people can relate to. Everybody has had anxiety, but the difference is not everybody has it constantly. So they can relate. Yeah. Especially this year. I mean, everybody's.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So everybody's getting their taste of it, So I thought it's a great way. First of all, it's a great stepping stone for starting to talk more about mental health. And it's also something they can relate to because they can understand what anxiety is. Some other things, and I don't have it, but schizophrenia would be difficult for me to illustrate for somebody. Number one, I don't have it. Number two, it's just so complicated and you've seen like the stuff in movies, but getting somebody to understand it, for real would be tough. So, that was a big part of my goal, was to make something that would be a stepping stone, and also make it like adventurous and kind of make it sexy. Not that having it is sexy, but also it's a mystery story and an adventure. Because I would see people when they drew their anxiety or drew depression in these, online comics you see and people share them. It was always like a scribble or a dark cloud. Okay. And I'm like, that's not mine. I can't relate, because I get that that's you, but I can't say, I can't say that I would lose my life and ruin my life and let things come up by a scribble, Mm-hmm. So I wanted to show anxiety as what I see it as a charismatic rock star. And that's what you get to see anxiety be. And that's why you follow that. You want to party with anxiety, because anxiety is in love with you, only you, and wants you to give up everything for it. So in the book, you see anxiety make one big play for you and try to get you,
That is fucking brilliant.
Thank you.
I'm just going to go out. I have never in a million years, if I was to look at a book or a comic strip or anything that has something to do with anxiety, would I have ever seen it in that light. And that makes so much sense to me. That makes so much sense to me. Kudos, hats off to you if I wore one. Because, and the reason I'm saying that is I deal with children all day long. I have pediatric patients all the way up to the day before they turn 21. And then I do see some adults as well. The majority of the kids that I have dealt with for almost 22 years in dentistry have been on some type of anxiety medication and antipsychotic medication, mood stabilizers, this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. The way you just described that fits the majority of what I see and makes me understand their plight more.
Yeah.
Because I don't have it.
Yeah.
And now I can understand that. Wow.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant.
Thank you. That's what the book main goal was. Even if you don't have it, I want you to be able to read this and understand it. If you do have it, it's made in a way that is, anxiety has wrecked my attention span and my ability to really concentrate. Sometimes I used to read novels all the time, and it's just, you have to force yourself to, because you're constantly thinking of other things, and it just wrecks that. So this book, Float, was made to be 100 pages, be continuous also, because you don't just beat anxiety. It comes back. So the book's meant to go front to back, and then you start again. It's a cycle. And that's the part. And that's what I can accomplish, because these are self-published and independent. I can do that. I can make it. Otherwise, you'd have ads, and they'd put other things, and they want to, it's purposely 100 pages. So it's not intimidating. I've seen some books where they're like, and I respect that you make, 5,000 pages, but if it's dealing with a topic like, I can't do 1,000-page book and go give to somebody with anxiety. I can't.
Just the size of that would make them anxious. Yeah.
It's going to give you anxiety,
Yeah.
you know? And so I wanted it to feel, okay, I can read this. Okay, I can get through this. And also, I want you to read it again. Because just because he, you know, in the story, anxiety, if it gets defeated, but he comes back. And then it's okay, because it's just, that's what happens in life. And that's what happens, especially with generalized anxiety disorder. You'll make the same mistake again. You're going to make it tomorrow, and it's okay. Process is you're not going, there's no cure, but it's keeping fighting is the cure, you know, not giving up.
You have no way of knowing this, but you just eased a huge fear of mine.
Yeah.
And this is the first time, by the way, y'all, this is the first time I've ever met this man. Okay. And then after this, I'm going to shut up because there's going to be questions. I finished my book, Diary of a Psychic Loser Magnet, turned it into Mike, and it's going to be coming out less than 100 pages. It is very raw, very open, very embarrassing, very people are going to be shocked when they read it. And it took balls of solid rock to put that out there. And the reason I did it that way was because I was like, they can go to any bookstore and get a book from a doctor telling them the steps to go through to try to get past these recurring problems they always have based on their own choices. You know, anyone can do that, but it's kind of like a drug counselor. The best drug counselor is a former drug addict, you know, and that's the way I was trying to look at it, is I'm putting this out there and telling everybody how I fucked up and my horrible decisions in hopes that they can learn from them and not make their own. And it's less than 100 pages. I was so scared that it was too little or too much, or, you know, am I the right person for the job or whatever? And you just eased that in exactly what you just said.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I just kind of, I knew I wanted it to be 100. And I think, you know, if it ever gets re-released, you know, they always want it longer than that, and that's fine. But I wanted my edition the way it was to be told that exactly way, because I know that that's just what the story is, and that's how it goes. And, you know, I got other books that are way longer, you know, and the Paranormal books are always twice that size. But
where can I get this? So when will it be out?
Float is now available at my website. So we're on a little delay due to me, you know, being on a trip, but you know, every book comes signed and sketched by me. So if you order today at my website at hcnoel.com, well, then you'll get it, you know, right after July 4th, and I will throw in some extra stuff because you're very
there you go.
Because I'm very what?
Patient, because they ship July 4th, you know.
Yeah.
So order today, I will ship after July 4th, and it'll come with a sketch and a signature, and some other fun stuff that I'll pack in there for you.
That's awesome. I'm going to order it because I think it would help me with my patients. I truly do.
Yeah, I really want to eventually get it into colleges and also with therapists and stuff like that, because it is meant to speak to everybody that goes through it, you know.
That's wonderful. Okay, I'm going to shut up now, Mike.
Oh, you're fine, Vanessa. And we do have the link to Howie's website, hcnoel.com, down there in the description on the YouTube video. Quarantine Ghost has been putting the links in the chat. In fact, she, or is it a he, specifically put the link to Float there in the chat.
Thank
you. For those listening to the podcast later, it's hcnoel.com. So. All right, so we do have a number of questions coming in, and they kind of go back to your copyright fight that you were going on. They wanted to know how you did fight that, what they were, and that was from Betty Lange, Grand Old Folks. Sharon Lange was wondering, what parts that they were taking from you. Was it the name? Was it the artwork? All of it? So.
Well, one of them was a very major publisher and switched a letter in the title by one letter. And then with because I've talked about this before, so I'm going to dance around to protect all parties. Sure. But it was a pitch specifically sent to publishers through a lit agent. Every step you're supposed to take legitimately. And I was horrified to find out that nearly page by page contents of the pitch were used in their book.
Wow.
Along with the title with one letter switched. And that was a very uncomfortable time and horrific. It's actually my nightmare, and it came true. So for everybody saying, oh, I don't want to do this, it literally happened to me. My worst nightmare came true. It's a giant, scary publisher. It's a billion-dollar company. And you can go down the route of, say, Tiger King and let wrath conquer your life and ruin your life, or you can find a way to win by lasting and never stopping and always being there and saying, I'm the first. You know, you have to let them know I'm the first. What you've done is wrong. I'm here. And see what happens, you know, because it means the world to me and it doesn't mean the world to them. So that's what I was going back, you know. So that was my first worst experience. And what you have to do is, if something like that happens to you, you know, I things I never expected. I have a lawyer. I always talk to the lawyer. I own the trademark for Paranormal. I copyright everything. This is my business. This is what I do. And that's what you have to do. So, you know, putting in terms, you know, and you also have to watch what you say on shows.
Right.
And not name specific things, and could be any billion-dollar company.
So
could be.
we'll just say bleep, you know, the bleep company.
You have to be very careful, you know, and I get very upset, you know, and I try to handle things personally and politely with a letter at first, and you know, it sucks. It's like we said, misunderstandings happen and stuff, but man, that's not really, you know, that's not the way. That's not a misunderstanding. Yeah. No, that's not the way things are supposed to happen. I thought it was very disrespectful,
right? And
it goes to show that a lot of companies just don't even want to pay the artist, and this has happened numerous times throughout history. And I'm not alone. You know, hearing from multiple lawyers go, they say 80% of copyright claims are just insane. You know, it's where everybody. And he said, "You're the other percentage," and it was just. It also made me kind of sad, because it would have been a relief if you go, oh, it's not this. You know, that's a relief when somebody goes, oh, they're totally different. You're okay.
Right.
And when you see page by page of a pitch, yeah, like this wasn't something I had on my website. It was completely different. That's the crazy part. And when you get attacked back for stating it, that's insane. And, you know, and threats are made. And
wow.
But I just say, I don't give up. I'm here. I have the, you know, that's really what happens. You have to find it if that's what, like, pick your battle, and Paranormal's my battle. So, you know.
Yep. So Judy Wilson was wondering if you ever go on any ghost tours or hunts, and if you've ever gone to any place that's really scared you.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually once a year, and not this year, it's delayed, of course, we do a paranormal activity ghost hunt. So we offer like very small groups, maybe 20 to 30 or something, and just so it's of the readers, and we offer the tickets, and it's every year, and we usually pick a place that's in the tri-state area, and that's really fun because they get to hang out and they'll ghost hunt with us, and we try to get places that influence me and the books, and we've been fortunate enough to go to Eastern State Penitentiary a couple times.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, that was one of my favorite locations. I mean, because that's one of the asylums that influenced Paranormal book 1, which is this one. I have this one. Look at the little. It's this one in here. I stared at so many pictures of that place. To actually be in it was a big deal for me. And I love Fort Mifflin, which is located in Philadelphia. And my friend Greg O'Brien. I met him there, and I believe I met him there, but he's always there. He's always at the fort. And that place has is one of the most haunted locations I've ever been to in my life, with most personal experiences where, do you know the flashlight thing where you set up the mag light so that if something touch it? I like doing that, and I like setting it up. I got the most interaction ever at this place, to the point where it was following me around with the flashlight, where we called it Flashlight Buddy, because I would go at one point, I could get when it was me doing it, I'd get direct conversation, like really, really. If somebody would have been filming this stuff, it would have we did.
Right.
Who would have thought of that? Who would have been smart enough to film it? But I would go, "Are you just messing with me? Ha ha ha!" And it blinked to laughter. And then I could go, "I want you to turn off," and it would close with my hand and go up with,
Oh, wow.
And then at the end of the night, my friend was in the group. He was like, "What the hell? I don't like this at all," And at the end, we were like, "Why don't you turn on all the lights? Make it all everything." And it turned on everybody's the EVP readers. The lights went on, and I had to say a prayer because I was like, "How do I make sure this doesn't follow me? I don't need another friend." I don't want, So even when my wife's like, "We should try out the flashlight at home," I'm like, "I don't need a friend." No, that's all right.
Yeah, not at home.
No.
Flashlight buddy, and that's one of my favorite stories because it got to the point where there was other people in the there that night, and they were like, "Could you please make your flashlight turn off because we're looking for like paranormal activity?" I'm like, "What? Really? This isn't good for you?" Like that was hilarious to me. That fact that this activity isn't good for you. I'm like, and we were in the this hidden dark area where I believe they kept prisoners. And we're in the dark and we could hear footsteps coming towards us. And I was like, "Is something coming towards us?" And it blinks for yes. So it's that kind of activity, And like I said, the flashlight rolled to me there. It never happened. It was a flat surface. It rolled to me.
Okay.
It lit up. It did the laughter and footsteps. So you can get crazy things at Fort Mifflin. At Eastern State Penitentiary, the scariest thing was during the day, the tour. This is what's crazy. So it was a thunderstorm, and you know how they say, thunderstorms breed activity.
Oh, sure.
We're getting the tour, and it's still light out, and we're just being gripped through. And there we're in the main building, and I've never heard this before, an audible scream. And there's nobody else on that property, just us. And it was not like a human sounding scream. It was an animal, like something bizarre.
Yeah.
But a scream, And I was like, "What the hell?" Like I've never had that, on my thing. And so I was like, "It's light out. Like, what are we in for with this?" And then also we're still getting on the tour, and I hear it right above my ear, right where the beds are. Where they still have the beds there in one area. And, we got a lot of stuff later, but just during that tour, during the light, there's things. And, and that's when you're just getting there. I really love that mood because with the rain and the light, you can just feel something.
Yeah.
And
we've got some of our best evidence or documentation, broad daylight.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, the nighttime, I guess, probably going to see shadows a lot better. I would say, stuff like that. It's the setting feels real there, but I like ghost hunting because I like the funniness of you're in this haunted mansion, and we were like flat out, because we're hours into it, we're like bored. You're sitting in a mostly haunted asylum, and you're like, "Oh, nothing's happening." But it's funny to be bored in such a
it's different than what they show on the television shows because it compact everything. Into 42 minutes, but when you're sitting out there, it is hours and hours, and people don't quite understand that. And it seems like, you get like a flurry of activity for a few minutes, and then, you kind of sit there for a while.
You get the boring, and you're just like, I can't believe we're bored in this horrific place, and where horrors happen. And you were scared, shitless earlier. And now you're like, I'm just bored. Hope we don't get hit by a bat.
Yeah,
bats are
that happens too.
Bats are huge in Eastern State. Yeah. So that's funny to me. I like the humor with the paranormal, and I like to be still respectful. I know some people. I believe in having humor in every situation, and like respectfully, of course. Yeah, there's tragedies that happen in the place, but like sitting there and when bats, you're more worried about bats, because not ghosts. You don't want to. Bats are scary and real. So
bats are pretty.
Not at Eastern State.
Not when they swoop down at your head. I mean,
they're not. But they're not.
Not when you're
trying to do that.
They come for the bald men. They do.
No, they come for the insects that you drum up.
Well, tell me why they teabagged my friend.
Oh well.
he an insect? I don't think he was. My friend Rob felt the soft tickle of the lower his hairs. So I refuse to hear you defend them to him.
Teabag by a bat.
From Rob Macchio, teabag by a bat. Let
Oh
it be
my god.
down in the chat. Put F's up for Rob.
Oh god.
Chat for Rob. He's teabag. Very violently, I must say.
You okay there, Vanessa?
No, because now I'm a very visual person.
Well, now you saw
And now that is all I can see is some poor fella
imagine being there.
getting the drive-by, the flyby teabagging of a bat.
It was horrific.
That is awesome.
One word for it.
Yeah. Well, see, I have hair.
I don't think he thought it was awesome,
I don't
Vanessa.
think he saw it as awesome.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Tragedy.
Go ahead.
You okay?
No. That was
All right.
awesome. That just made me super happy.
So we have some questions from Betty Lange, Grand Old Folks, about your your origins and then about your writing process. So she was wondering how long it takes you to start and finish a project. She was also wondering at what age you started writing and illustrating and who became your biggest supporter.
I started drawing since I was born. My mom is an artist also, so in my house it was just that's what we do. We draw and we create, and I was always encouraged. That was a big thing growing up. I was always encouraged, and that's so special because going into I had great art teachers through kindergarten all the way through college, to have people that would help me grow as an artist. That's so important, and those people every step of the way helped me get there. Somebody wasn't trying to undercut me in the beginning, and that's an important thing. And I always tell people that when they say their kids can draw, just encourage them.
Yeah,
keep them
absolutely.
That's what they want to do. They're going to keep at it because it's a long life. I knew when I was very little, I wanted to do cartooning. I wanted to draw, and and I just was focused on that. And it's a hard thing. Mm-hmm. But if you will follow through it, if that's your passion, don't give up on it. And what I start with, the ideas will come to me like a movie playing, and I'll let them play in there for a while. And then what I try to do is capture what I'm seeing and translate it to these books the best I can, so that you can kind of see the movie that's in my head. And hopefully it's so good in the head. It's so really good up. So I try the best I can and to get it to you guys on the paper. This is my medium of choice. I really, really love this. While I love to watch movies and TV, there's just something you can do with paper, because it's like a magic trick where I'm guiding you, and I'm in charge of how long we stay on a page and how much depth, and all the stuff in there. And the turning of the page is like the blink in a movie, how you cut to another scene and stuff like that. So that's why it's my medium of choice. And really how it begins is because I'm the writer, penciler, inker, colorist, letterer.
You're everything.
I'm everything. So I can kind of sometimes just dive right in and tell it, or I'll type out, I'll have it plotted out, and I try to get the ending. I want the ending known, because, we've all seen things where there's no ending, and that's not fun. I want to make sure I have an ending, and things can change on the way there. And I found when I write the script out fully, it really killed me, because then I was like, oh man, I just told this story, and that was part of my fun, is telling the story. So I don't want it to become like work. And one time I did the full script, and then by the time you're ready to ink, you're like, oh my God, I'm doing this 3 times. So I prefer, instead of just, because it's all here, I'll mark little thumbnail sketches, so I have the plot and I don't lose it. And I'm, as I'm getting older, I write down definitely jokes that you want to keep, or I'm of the fortunate part where I can do that scripting on the paper, with layers and stuff too. So that's how I'm going about it, and that's my process. Everybody with comics, it's all different. So it's not like a movie script has a format, and you do that, because if you do something else, they're gonna be like, what the hell? You're like an amateur. But with comics, everybody writes differently. Every writer is different. And I think the important thing is just enjoy it, and don't let the fun be soaked out, and have it is a job, but don't let it like feel like a job if that's possible, because that's when it really can be brutal if it feels like that, you know.
Yeah,
So
let
are
me-
you still
Go
pen to
ahead.
paper, or do you do a graphics tablet?
I do both.
Okay.
I do a mixture of everything. I color everything in Photoshop, but the iPad is a magnificent thing for me, and it's the closest I feel to my inking. You know, it's just the
Yeah.
Apple Pen really replicates. I never liked digital inking before then. I didn't. And now with that, and they have people creating brushes and stuff that match what I want. I really enjoy that. Plus, it's quicker. It's very quick.
Yeah.
And also, it's a joy for doing like personal caricatures, which I offer all the time, because if somebody has like a revision or jobs, you know, so, because I've done work for like T-Mobile and Medicare, so you know, if they have a change, dude, it's not a problem for you to have a change when I have the iPad. That's great.
Yeah, it's
You know,
boom, it's done.
Yeah, if you have pencil and paper, it could be like, oh man, let's go back. You know, you're kind of, if somebody wants a change on digitally, I'm like, yes, we can do that. Absolutely. Let's do it. And that makes it better for everybody. And also for me, I can change stuff because I'm my worst critic, and I can reorganize things. We can move things over here, you know, and how it's working. And it's so much quicker. And I love that we're one step closer to printing when I do it that way, or one step closer to getting it out to you guys when I share it online or something.
Absolutely. I'm sorry about that, Mike.
No, it's fine. No, it's a good question. Yeah. And I saw Adam Tillery, our artist for Haunted Road Media, kind of chime in down there in the chat with a couple of hand claps. So,
awesome.
Yeah. But what I wanted to ask you, Howie, was I've noticed, and some of the people down in the chat have noticed that you've done some Walking Dead artwork. So, you know, you had mentioned that you're basically like a one-man gang and you're doing it all. But you know, with a graphic novel like The Walking Dead, you're talking to a large team of people. So how is that really different when you have a lot of hands in the mix, and versus you where it's just a one-man show?
Yeah, well, Walking Dead is like an amazing creation of Robert Kirkman, and I just did as a fan, I did fan art that was luckily embraced by fellow fans, and also their social media team is just amazing. And I got to meet when they're at conventions, and just that, all my art, thanks to other fans like me and people helping, got it to all the stars of the show, which is mind blowing. And to see the stars love it and appreciate it, be like Norman Reedus was amazing, and Andrew Lincoln. So that, if you're doing a big book like that, now the artist, the artist on that book would also pencil and ink, but he's not going to do the gray tones because the time, you can't allow that time. And Kirkman's also he's the writer, so he doesn't do the art duties, so because he's writing all these other things and he's managing the brand and stuff. But you also have a letterer and stuff. They've got to get that done in a certain amount of time, and to get it monthly, because he was very good about getting it monthly. That's why I was so successful with that kind of comic. And they put on a hell of a run, and it's a different ball game. My things are more that's Image is independent too, because it's not Marvel and DC, but it's a big company. Mine's more, these are like, I think of them as almost independent films or rock albums, something like that, where it's a project I'm working on, and then I release them as you get them. And every other year we do a Kickstarter or a crowdfunding project, so you get that year off after I do it, and then we work on something, or I just keep you updated when they come out, and that's how we do it. And I try to update. I've been updating the website with my Taps Paramagazine comics, so every Wednesday I put up a classic one, and tomorrow's Wednesday, so it'll be comic number 3, and I'm going to publish them in the order they originally printed. So I just like having constant content now, since we've all been kind of stuck at home. So I put a lot of my comics are on the website. I think it's just very important to just let your audience know how you're doing it. And like a giant team like that is something that I found, because I did an anthology, and it's not in my skill set to wrangle other people. And I feel bad being that person, because I'm an artist, and I'm not like, I can direct a bit as an art director, but I'm not, say, like a creative lead. That's more something my wife can do.
Okay.
She likes to manage and lead. I get uncomfortable when I'm like, hey man, where's that comic you agreed to do for my project? And because we're artists, we did it for free for each other, and I'm bothering you now. And, you know,
right,
like,
yeah.
And I know how artists are, and I thought I'd be equipped, but I didn't like being put in that position. And I'm more, I still collaborate with friends, but it's like, so when I do an anthology now, it's like, hey man, whenever you want to do this, let me know, and they'll hit me up, and then we can do it, And so when I did it for the book as an anthology, I regretted it because I knew I learned, I'm like, I'm never going to do a full book that's just an anthology. It's not my style, but I did it, and it created some world building that's fun. But I like to do smaller ones now. If I'm doing it, so we're not going to do like 100 pages of an anthology again. We'll do little ones every now and then, and that are fun. Usually do it a lot with Leonardo Gonzalez, who's a great artist. He does a terror story with me. Like, if not every year, every other year, we'll do like a fun one. This year's was the New Jersey Devil, and that's like 6 pages on the website. Yeah.
So Tammy Heitzman down in the chat was wondering if you're going to be doing any more of the Walking Dead work.
If somebody, I've done a lot. I went through like a lot. Maybe, somebody can always commission stuff if somebody wants something like that, or you never know, like something could inspire me. Like I like the Whispers, and stuff like that. So possibly I put that page on my website as like, I wanted everybody to be able to go there and see them all, so they could forever be there. And you never know. I always do them for conventions. Somebody always commissions like a sketch cover, and I always do them at those. Or when I go to conventions, I'll always be asked to draw them. So yeah, I'm always doing new Walking Dead art. I don't have the time right now on my own just to be like, oh, I wish I could. I've been very busy, fortunately, with like private commissions and logo work, and and just finishing this book. But I always like to do fun things. But yeah, if somebody comes up and asks me, I'll do it. Yeah.
Right,
so
cool.
you're a walking, talking example of you can make a living doing art.
Yes, you can.
You just got to put the time in.
You have to find out what you're good at, what you can fit in. I spoke to a class. I spoke to a college class about this. That I told them, I don't want to speak to the person that's the class favorite. I want to speak to the person that kind of gets some grief from the teachers. Maybe they feel like they're not the chosen one. That's who I want to speak to. And I'm like, you don't have to let them make you quit, because you can do this, but it's not going to be in the way you think it is. And with social media, you don't have to be the one with like 30,000 followers or 50,000. You can just exist on what you have. And I have learned over time, like what I think is mainstream. Like I thought Paranormal was mainstream. I didn't realize it's pretty weird to have like a girl superhero who fights ghosts and stuff. I was like, that's like normal to me. That's normal, but they're like, that's niche. And I didn't know comics were niche. So if you're going to do niche, just recognize what it is. And I started realizing, oh man, I guess not everybody likes Ghoulies too, like I did. Like I thought that was or, I grew up watching Commander USA on the USA channel, and he was a guy dressed up as a superhero, and he hosted scary movies. And to me, I was like, this is what I watched every week. And I'm like, that's my mainstream thing. And I'm like, a lot of people don't know who he was, but I'm like, that was normal to me and mainstream. So you just got to realize what your audience is, find your audience, and it'll be there. And just recognize and take it somewhere, and always try to meet new people on the road. That's the cool thing. You're doing something special when you see you're getting new people that are joining in, and You can do it. Yeah. It's just depending. It's just like anything. You got to find out how to survive. And there's tough times. I mean, there was, and people, you do day jobs, you do all kinds of jobs. You have to, that's the reality of the new world. You got to do a bunch of many little things.
Oh yeah.
Not just one thing, like I said, how many different titles? I do caricatures all the time. I do custom portraits.
Yeah, I did want to touch on some of your other work that you've done. So I grabbed some of the other artwork off your site here real quick. So you've done.
Oh, there you go.
There's
Very
Ghost
cool.
Nation and this. It was a children's book.
Yeah.
So and I have to ask. That's John Tinney standing in the doorway, right?
That is him. Yes, I got to draw him for a kid's book. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you have a bunch of other work that you've done out there too. It's not just Paranormal.
No, yeah. I do. Yeah, that was the laser bug, and those are available on Amazon. She wrote it, and I did the illustrations for it, which was so fun. Because she wrote it, so I just come in and draw, and it was cool to do. I really love doing kids books, and I want to do more of those. And it was cool because it was also paranormal, and they're based on her real life dogs, and they were so fun, and she had these great stories. She's a really great writer, and I like doing that. And then so if somebody wants me to illustrate things, I do that too, so you just come to me and we do the project. And then also Ghost Nation, of course, I always love working with Jason and Steve and Dave, and we did a bunch of merchandise designs for them for the new show that I think they're launching, and that was fun. I did all that over this past year and the year before, and that was really great. I've always done, that's how I got started with getting known in the paranormal, by doing art, and Jason liked it, that's what became like really, really, really close friends. And it's cool for my art to grow, and then you can see how I drew them back then and now, and changing it and doing stuff like that. I love I've done a lot of paranormal portraits recently, which is awesome because it's a big passion of mine. So when you meet these talented people and, these researchers that you admire, and you get to draw them, it's awesome. Plus I know that subject, so you can't get me wrong there. I know it's fun when you know the subject,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you mentioned the Taps Paramagazine artwork that you've done. So, and I always remember seeing your artwork in that magazine.
Yeah, it's so cool that I got to do that. I always wanted to do I love comic strips, and that Paranormal's like more graphic novels, so longer stale stories. But my roots are comic strips. Like I mentioned Dick Tracy before. I love Garfield, Bloom County. So I always want to do a comic strip. So she got to be in the comic strip in that magazine. And she got to ghost hunt with the actual people that appeared on the show. And also I got to spoof like a ton of paranormal movies, like The Exorcist or, Terror with the Ring Girl, and also Jack Nicholson from The Shining. And so do stuff like that. Plus one issue towards the end, I did, you can cut out your own Shadow Man, because Shadow Man's in the book. And you can have your own shadow person living with you.
Nice.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So I liked getting weird at the end, and I did a Babadook bookmark. Duke or yeah.
Okay.
So you could cut and use them if you wanted to destroy.
That movie scared the shit out of me.
It's a sad tale about an ex-boyfriend, an ex-husband who can't get out of the basement. That's how I think of it.
Yeah, it scared the shit out of me, and I don't get scared. That movie scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, well, the kid scared the shit out of me. I would
a little bit.
The Babadook had every right to do what he did. I think he was justified. I couldn't take that kid yelling.
True
story.
Yeah, that kid's tantrums were off the wall. Oh,
legendary.
No wonder he was so angry.
Yeah. All right. Well, Howie, we're getting down toward the end of the show. For our guests again, where can everybody find you, and what do you have coming up? I know everything's kind of scattered here with COVID, but what's coming up?
That's kind of up in airs. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on in New Jersey. I know as far as live appearances, I'm still up in the air about what can do, because it's like it's changing. You can't tell in the news, but you can always find me at hcnoel.com. You can find me on Facebook too at HC Noel, and also Howie Noel is the art page, and Paranormal Activity on Facebook is Tara's official page. Look for the official Tara art. You'll find her. I'm on Instagram at Howie Noel and on Twitter at HCNOEL. And I don't tweet much, but when I do, it's art usually, or going after fake Taras.
There you go. Yeah.
And you can go to my website and also Paranormal.com. We've got a ton of Paranormal comics on there for you to read because everybody's stuck at home and we're finally starting to venture out. But I put a ton of them on there so you can see what it's like, and then you can get caricatures and stuff from me there. Yeah, so I think that's everything. I think I got everything.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Well, I have the book in my shopping cart on your page. I just got to figure out it won't let me go and pay for it. So I'm doing something wrong. So I'm
should let you pay for it. I don't know.
It's not. Yeah, so I'm gonna figure it out, but it's in my shopping cart.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe refresh your browser. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty. Yeah, just check the card. It should be there, and you can check out. That shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, and also all the other books. The Paranormal books are all on Amazon too. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can get Tara, and it'll arrive really quickly. And if you go to my site, well, like we said, after July 4th, I'll ship those out. But caricatures I'm doing now because I'm on the road and I have my iPad. So we do caricatures now. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Awesome. So everybody go check out his website, get a caricature, buy the books, all that great stuff. So Howie, it was great to be able to chat with you and dive into Paranormal and everything else that you're doing. So appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate the invite here, and it's great to talk to you and Vanessa. And I had the best time hanging out, and I hope everybody in the chat did too. I hope you guys enjoy my art, and I hope I talk to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely, awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
Take care. Have a great night.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye. All right.
Yeah, I've got it.
And you just froze up, Vanessa. Apropos, because Vanessa froze up right as we were starting the show. And I think it's going to drop out on her again. Yeah, Vanessa froze up like right as we were about to start the show, which is why we started like a couple minutes late. And I think as we're ending the show, she's bombing out. So go figure that. All right, so I will at least carry on without Vanessa, unless she suddenly pops back up. She's a little bit there in the background. All right, let's go ahead and get to the shout-outs. So I do want to thank Quarantine Ghost for moderating the chat. Always appreciate the help from he, she, or otherwise. So let's get to our Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. We have Tom McNicholas, B3 Airspace, Pamela Queen, Joe Chandler, Andrew Cox, Dustin Samario, and Trucker David Y. David Isley. Thank you all very, very much. And she did just totally, yep. All right, so let me remove that. Okay, there we go. So let's go ahead and get to the participants tab. Participants tab. I think everything's just glitching right now. So it happens. So there's Candy Orton, Christopher Stanton, Alina the Fam. Thank you all very much for joining us once again. Grand Old Folks, Betty Lange, thank you for all the questions. Helen Espinoza, thanks for joining us once again, as Jennifer Bloomer as well. And Robert Hanna, thank you very much. Sharon Lane and Tim Schoen. Tim Schoen, Haunted Road Roast. It helps you hunt ghosts. I'll get some of the stuff added here again soon. We're getting the back. Patreon patrons are getting a setting up the new studio video here. I should have that up tomorrow. So we're slowly adding to it again as I get things unpacked. There's Tracy Christian and Victoria Monday. Thank you all very, very much. Come back here and see if there's anything the participants tab or anyone that the participants tab may have missed. If I missed you, of course, nothing personal, but throw your name down there at the bottom and you want to shout out, because we're going to be kicking over to really quick here Betty Lange says I need a portrait. We're going to be kicking over to Beyond the Shadows directly after this. Stay here on the Edge of the Rabbit Hole channel. We're going to be talking about paranormal storytelling, the different ways that we can tell the story of the paranormal and the supernatural. You just saw one with Howie Noel, with his paranormal comics and all the other things that he does with his art and illustrations. That is one method of paranormal storytelling. So we'll get into more of those things coming up on Beyond the Shadows in just a few minutes. So basically, I'm going to exit here, switch things out, come back, and we'll go live. So don't go too far. Maybe grab another coffee or something like that. All right. So that will do it for this show, for Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We'll see you all in a few minutes. And I don't have Vanessa here to say she's going to go tinkle or anything. I don't know. It is what it is. Here's the intro screen. The Paranormal. She kicks ass. She really does. Check out the comics.